Hey everyone, good evening and happy Monday. Darrell here from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center across the high desert. We're in a little bit of a transitional day. Our next warming trend is right around the corner. We still had some in and out clouds and winds became breezy. But when we look outside, we also see another thing that impacted a lot of people today. That was the smoke. Yeah, there was a prescribed burn that put a lot of smoke in the air. And going forward, we're still looking at periods of reduced and even poor air quality across parts of the high desert. So let's talk about this. That's right. We are about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast for this Monday, April 27th. And a quick look across Central Oregon. Some of us mostly sunny to partly cloudy. And in a couple of these cameras, you can still see some of that smoke. That smoke impacted us through the midday hours from shortly before noon into the afternoon hours. And when we focus on just air quality conditions for a couple graphics, we'll notice that there have been a few changes and a few more changes are expected. So right now, this graphic shows two different networks. First, it shows the DEQ, and that is the hourly average. That's everything you see on the map, all the big blobs of green and yellow, and it does show where that path of smoke, that path that the smoke took from just outside of Sisters through Bend towards Pine Mountain. And the other one is the eSpace Labs network, and that one is near real-time sensors that show 15-minute averages. And so we're looking at two different sets of averages. The first is the eSpace. In the last 15 minutes, we're all sitting in the green, good air quality. But when we're still looking at the DEQ hourly average, it's still good to moderate air quality. Now, that never really picked up. The hourly average never really came away from moderate. But here's the difference. When it comes to the hourly average, that's what the DEQ recommendations are based off of. But it's the best that we really have for as far as long-term studies go and different parts of the county and where we have bad air quality and whatnot. But when it comes to fires, you've noticed this during the last several years that can change pretty quickly depending on air speed or wind speed and direction, where we're looking at good air quality 1 minute and then poor air quality the next minute. And that's what we had today, where that smoke started to come up from that prescribed burn, which was about a mile to the west of Sisters, and it was scheduled to be up to 171 acres. Now, we just had a live update for the DEQ hourly average, and it still shows good to moderate air quality. It did glitch. I just wanted to tell you what happened there. And but when it comes to the real-time sensors, you're also familiar with the purple air sensors. Now, these ones are even a little bit more sensitive. And even as of right now, this network has some sensors, the majority of them showing good to moderate air quality, but there are a couple of them that are reduced or quite possibly even poor air quality in a few spots, such as just outside of Sisters, closer to where that prescribed burn was. There's a couple that are showing unhealthy air quality, one just outside of Prineville, further to the east, showing unhealthy for sensitive groups, but for the most part, it's good to moderate. And that's why the state doesn't really like, when it comes to purple air, that's all real-time sensors, and it doesn't show the hourly average. On top of that, some of them are just out to lunch. Like there's one in North Bend that just shows hazardous air quality, and that's the only one around that shows that. But either way, that is what we are looking at. Now tonight, as temperatures cool, we're falling back to near and below freezing, and what happens in this situation is the atmosphere actually compresses. On top of that, high pressure is building into the region, so that means some more subsidence, more pushing down. So we're looking at the potential for some stagnant air during the next couple of days, which means tonight, as winds taper off and swing around to the south, that's going to push more smoke back into parts of Central Oregon, and it's going to leave us in the morning with reduced, even poor air quality for parts of the high desert. But as of right now, quick look at those roads, and they are dry. The cameras are all showing mostly clear to partly cloudy conditions, and you can see a lot of shadows on the ground, indicative of that in and out cloud cover. But when we just switch over to satellite and radar, this is a blend between a blend of visible satellite imagery and infrared satellite imagery. And the difference is that visible is only good during the daytime. Once the sun sets, we have to switch over to infrared. So I actually just have both of them on this graphic. And what it's showing is that there have been some in and out clouds. But notice where we've been getting them, there hasn't been much at all in the way of precipitation. One shower popped up on radar over the Three Sisters. And outside of that, when we look at the bigger picture, the best chance of rain is over Klamath County. And then getting over towards Ontario and further to the south, there are showers. And there have been a few lightning strikes because of those cells that are pushing through the area. Outside of that, we don't have much in the way of precipitation, and a very dry air mass is sitting overhead. Now, through tonight, we get clearing. By tomorrow, more clouds roll in, but these are mostly going to be upper-level clouds, not even bringing much of a chance of rain. And so when we just focus on satellite imagery, this is infrared imagery, and I put an enhancement on it that really pulls out those tall clouds. So if you look further off to the east, where there is severe weather, those clouds are really tall because there's a lot of vertical development, and you could really see that. And it's just something that, at a glance, helps meteorologists pick different things out. And what I'm picking out when I see this, just to do a little quick analysis with you, is that where we have these clouds over central Oregon, they are thin and they're not bringing much at all in the way of precipitation chances. Once you start to see these green tops over here and even the yellow tops, that's where we have the chance of some showers, and then we'd really focus on that radar imagery. But as of right now, it does not look, other than gorgeous conditions, doesn't look too impressive when it comes to anything happening as far as any systems developing. Now, there is a ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean, and this high is going to amplify as it works its way over the coastline, and it's just going to stretch out north to south, and that's going to set us up for this warming trend and this sunshine that we're looking at through the next several days. Meanwhile, when it comes to water vapor imagery, it's mostly dry air. Now, we do have some clouds, but where we have some of these clouds, when you get into those blues, it's mostly still just dry air, so there's not even enough moisture up there except for the cloud cover to really bring us much in the way of precipitable water. Even where we have some of these thunderstorms in southeastern Oregon, it's just a little bit of additional moisture compared to what the rest of us have. So one other thing that we do see with this graphic is not only do we just have that slot of dry air west of the Cascades, but we also have these white lines that are stacked up tightly next to each other, coming up the west slopes of the Cascades and through the mountains. And those are isobars. And where you have those really close isobars, we call that a steep gradient, and winds are breezy. Now, when it comes to your forecast model this evening, where we have clouds, those thin out. And then tonight, it'll be mostly clear, but these areas of smoke are expected. Some of us could start the day tomorrow with some reduced, maybe even some poor air quality. It's something we're going to be tracking with you. But your forecast model shows that by tomorrow afternoon, a little bit more cloud cover. Now, this is going to be more of that upper level cloud cover, not really capable of bringing much in the way of precipitation. But by Wednesday, more sunshine than clouds, and the showers that we're expecting over eastern Oregon. So really, from Burns and John Day further off to the east. Now, some sprinkles are going to be possible a little closer to Crook County and parts of Deschutes County, but nowhere near the 97 corridor at this point. By the time we get to Thursday and Friday, more sun-cloud mix. We have more forecast models coming up, including a comparison. So we'll get to that more here in the next few minutes. But when it comes to relative humidity, it is dry, not even moderate much. In the highest elevations, it's moderate. That's where you see the green there. But we're running between 38% humidity and 17% humidity. So it's not critically dry for fire weather conditions. That usually starts in the teens, but it is pretty dry out there. So that means even if some showers or sprinkles were to fall, most of that would be evaporating before it reaches surface. Meanwhile, high temperatures today in the 60s with some 50s on the map. Now, when it comes to actual temperatures across central Oregon, they're close to where those highs were, but this is part of our warming trend. Today's average high temperature right around 61 degrees, and tomorrow it picks up a little bit more, but tomorrow's more of a transition day still. But either way, we're running between 1 and 5 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. We're not done warming up. So through tonight, we fall back down to near and below freezing, and by tomorrow, we're going to be topping out well into the 60s. And with mid to upper 60s expected, there won't be too many spots getting up to 70 degrees until we get further into the week. But this is just the continuance of this warming trend under this sunshine mixed with a little bit of cloud cover. Now, by tomorrow afternoon, winds could still be breezy at times, but highs, 60s for most, super nice. We're going to call that pleasant on there. And then that high pressure continues to amplify even more into Canada. Now, it's still going to be impacting us right here across central Oregon, and winds mostly coming out of the north, but still a light breeze. Highs in the 60s 60s and some 70s. By Thursday, 70s and a few 60s. Notice that entire time we're mostly dry because of that ridge of high pressure. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., nada, no precipitation in sight. Closest showers are further off to our east. But going forward, we are going to be warming up each day, bringing us well into the mid-70s. And by Saturday and Sunday, very similar to last week where I was looking at the chance of some sprinkles yesterday and today, that's kind of what we're looking at right now, where there is a chance of some showers Saturday and Sunday, but I think it's mostly going to be that sprinkles that we did see a little bit of yesterday, just not even for everybody. Most of us stay dry. It's going to be another one of those things this weekend if everything pans out the way it's looking right now. Now, your forecast model shows that after tonight's clearing, we get more clouds tomorrow. Now, this isn't the high-resolution forecast model that I was just showing you. This one goes out quite a bit further, and it's not as high of resolution, but it's staying on track with what we were seeing with that last one. Wednesday, more sunshine than clouds. By Thursday, looking at a mixture of sunshine and clouds, again, still very dry. And then by Friday, that system that was starting to move in is already fizzling out, and we're just not looking at any precipitation. So we have to move it to a different forecast model, one that is uses different model physics. And this one is a long-range forecast model, so it's not as high of resolution, and it shows that through the next several days, still a mixture of sunshine and cloud cover. In fact, Wednesday and Thursday, more sunshine than clouds are expected over Central Oregon. By Friday, this one has more clouds rolling in late, and by the evening hours, maybe a few sprinkles. This is the beginning of where we start to see that change in our weather pattern. And it also shows that by Saturday, some AM showers are possible, and then that plume of moisture redistributes itself into the high desert, bringing us a chance of some PM shower Saturday. Really, I'm just keeping a chance of some shower Saturday. By Sunday, this specific forecast model has a few spots that could catch some light showers that carry into Monday as well. Now, this is not a very strong signature for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. In fact, it's a very weak signature. So I'm inclined to say that by Monday, we're not looking at too much more of a chance of rain. That high pressure starts to build back in. Saturday and Sunday, some sprinkles are going to be possible. But that could be changing as we get closer to this event. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., no precipitation in sight. Stretching that out through Sunday, this forecast model shows some showers making it to the ground. Notice some spots where it's very thin, and that's where we're looking at the potential for some sprinkles. Some of us don't even get wet. Now, switching topics a little bit more, when it comes to winds, right now, gusts up to 22 miles per hour. And today, we were looking at 5 to 15 with gusts up to 20. So this is still on par with what we were looking at. And this is exactly what we're expecting again tomorrow. So actual wind speeds, again, 10 to 15, 5 to 15 miles per hour coming out of the north and the northwest. And that winds picking up, becoming breezy through the afternoon and evening is what helped to push some of that smoke our way. Notice earlier today at right around 10 o'clock is when winds swung around to the north and the northwest. And that is when we started to see that smoke coming down the Highway 20 corridor. Once wind speeds picked up, it helped clear the air a little bit. But tonight, tapering winds are expected. And then those winds are swinging back around to the south. So more of that smoke filtering into parts of the high desert. And then by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, again, breezy at times, southwest becoming northwest. It's pretty much the trend for the next several days because of this ridge of high pressure. So we're not looking at too intense of winds, but they could become breezy at times like we saw today. Now, temperatures tonight, 30s with some 20s. That puts us near and below freezing for most of the high desert, just not quite everybody. Notice some of our lower elevations not getting as cold as other parts, but still potential for frost in those locations that don't get as cold. Through Tuesday, we're looking at 60s for most of Central Oregon, maybe a couple of 70s. And Tuesday and Wednesday is when we warm through the 60s. Then we're in the 70s. We're keeping that chance of some showers Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, still in and out cloud cover with temperatures picking up once again. So we're looking at 60s for a couple of days, then into the 70s. And here's the kicker, though. If this system develops a little bit more for the weekend, and if we have that chance of rain again on Monday, instead of 77, it'll be more like 73, 72 degrees because of that unsettled weather pattern. But ultimately, we are looking at clearing with chilly temperatures tonight. And a springtime flip is already underway, going from that unsettled weather pattern Sunday and Monday, which did not bring much in the way of change, except it kept us a little cooler still. And then we're about to really start to warm up. So warming and dry conditions are expected through most of this week. And as of right now, we've had a few sprinkles showing up on radar, but I'm not even convinced all of that was reaching the ground. Some of that from about Three Rivers down through Lapine. So if you're in that area and you did get some sprinkles, let me know. But there are some showers between Crescent going all the way down to Christmas Valley and really over Klamath and Lake counties. Sorry, Klamath and Lake counties. That's where we have some of these light showers. And we don't have any lightning in your neck of the woods as of yet. The closest lightning was well to the east of Burns earlier today. So that is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. We'll see you then.